All right. Well, here we go, chat. Let's take a look.
跟你一起进去吗？
我来，我先。
好，谢谢。
Also, thank you guys for doing the
好久不见了，是时候了。
对，
Appreciate
是时候了。
那么我们就开始吧。我们这个言归正传啊，首先是这个
crucial terms of sense of
有一个
purpose
很关键的词叫目标感啊。就我们知道，这个对于这种长线运营的游戏来说，就是目标感
We know
其实是一件
for
非
games
常非
such
常
as
重要的
this,
事
a
情，它是
purpose
支
is
撑我们
important. It's a
玩
driving
下
force
去的
that
一个
keeps
动
us
力
playing.
这个
I agree. And I've made this point so many times with games like Genshin. Why did people still play Genshin? Is it just because, oh, I want to use the characters that I pulled for, blah, 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 blah? A majority of Genshin players to this day, like 90% of them, will more than likely say something along the lines of, I want to see the game to the end. Where is this game going? Right? The story, the world building, all of that really, really draws you in. Right? And I want to give credit where credit is due, because Genshin's really, really good at some things, not so great at some other things, but what Genshin's really, really good at is world building and lore, right? And it's all coming to a head right now in Not Cry, where the story is integrating so much of that lore that they had kind of, you know, gave us crumbs with here, there, everywhere for the past 4 years. And now here in year 5, we're kind of fulfilling on a lot of those promises on the main storyline, right? This is what we've been waiting for in Genshin. That ultimately will lead to the payoff that we've been wanting from the game from the start.
局序林现在也马上就要到这个2.4的版本了，这个目标感就，我觉得现在也是时候该拿出来作为一个很重要的一件事情来说一说了。
I think the sense of
目标感这件
purpose
事情
is actually
其实
no
也是
understanding
我
we
们
have
现
now.
在的一个
Which for Zenless, I'm so glad that they've identified that the players don't know where the fuck we're going. Even with some of the people who are directly like involved with the lore, there's a lot of like a lot more handful of lore content creators around Zenless Zzzero than I realized over the past like 1-2 months that I've like kind of been more actively learning about the lore. Not a lot of people really know where the fuck we're going. Do you guys know where the fuck we're going in the story? Barely. I have my interpretations of it. But where the hell are we going with the story? What are we supposed to do with the knowledge and the power of the mystic arts? What are we, like, that's the whole reason why we're fucking here. We weren't just here to study the mystic arts for no fucking reason. The whole point was still so that we can master and learn ether manipulation so that we can understand how our eye works. That's the whole point. But that's so lost in the sauce. Right? And then when it comes to the antagonist aspect of it, bro, who the fuck is Sarah and what the fuck are they doing? At least with Genshin and the Abyss, you know that, you know, they were spawned from the Cataclysm. Right? They're the product of stupidity and greed. Cough, cough. You know? Sarah's been there from the start, though. What is she doing, though? What is she actually doing? Think about that. Also, thanks, Shocker. Appreciate it. She's there to look good and drink coffee. She drinks coffee evilly. Like, what is she genuinely fucking doing? Instigating, inciting, you know, with Yidhari, she's gaslighting. But what the fuck is she actually doing? Yeah, we do need to know what she's actually doing now that she's the overseer. Yes, exactly. What is she actually doing with the overseer power, and why does she want to get in contact with the creator? She's planning something big. You're so fucking right. How did I not? Yeah, big. She's working for Carol Arna, and that's one of the ways to look at it. That's one of the ways to look at it, but that's not a very explicit thing when it comes to the story. And they need to do a slightly better job at showing character motivation. Because character motivation allows us to understand the character, it allows us to gain more depth on them. And with more depth, with more understanding, we grow a greater appreciation. But if we don't know where the fuck we're going and we don't know what the fuck these characters are doing, then all we think of is just that they're just being evil and they're just being antagonistic to be antagonistic. And that's very, very shallow. Whereas this game has a lot of depth to it. It's just that it's not told in a very cohesive way. Or in a way that they're leaving out story elements in which maybe they thought was a little bit more inherent that people would pick up on, but it's just the execution's not there. Thanks, James. Appreciate it. Evil for the love of the game.
的认知吧，就是我们曾经会觉得，就是比如说你不断的就是短期的每个版本去提供给玩家一个新鲜的玩法或者一个好玩的东西这个目标感就能得以延续。但是你从长线的一个产品的角度上来讲，我觉得是得给到一些更上层的一些目标的。你比如说剧情，对吧？玩家本身对于这些角色是喜爱的，对于你的剧情提供的折合零的这个目标是非常好奇的，所以说它得有一个一以贯之的一个剧情的目标，对吧？就是我操作了零和折，然后见证了什么样的故事的发展，并且这个主角在其过程中起到的作用是至关重要的，对吧？我觉得是这样的，有这样的一个预期在的。对，
这个现在是我们玩家，包括我在内非常关心的一个话题。
除了剧情以外，我还想提另外一个点，就是实际的游戏体验上，我们其实在游戏体验上来讲，给到玩家的目标感，我就个人觉得还是会基于角色吧，对，就是我去获得一个角色，或者说我对这个角色倾注了他对应的心血之后，他是有对应回馈的。那确确实实我们在这件事情上就是做了一些实验的，然后甚至说我们针对就是类似于像香亭这样的模块或者说我们的航天城，对吧？曾经的航天城。我们做了一些探索项的一些体验这些体验或许也会考虑如何进一步的让对应的代理人发挥它的价值。
Right, within the Hollow and especially Hollow Zero, they kind of allowed themselves the ability to playtest a few extra abilities, right? Very, very easily with the Ellen Joe rework. A lot of that was off the back of some of the Hollow Zero buffs that we got. Sambi, in some ways, the same thing. And then when you take a look at, like, let's say an Astro Yao, I very much could see Astro Yao gaining those things if they were to implement some of the buffs in co-op. Core and buffs. There you go. Right? The slight Corrin rework. Hollow Zero is a public testing ground. And I very much appreciate that. I think it's really cool that they do that.
那就是其实你们围绕这个目标感是已经有所讨论过了这些。
Also, sorry, it's a little bit loud, chat. My bad.
目标感也好，或者说玩家长期游玩下去的这个动力，是做了一些
over my voice
定期的复盘和思考的。但是这些复盘和思考，它是不是比较足够的或者充分的？我们也希望正好借这一次机会，跟谷歌老师、跟玩家们。
So they reach out to the internet to see if these revisions were acceptable.
进一步的详细说一说我知道这个第二季这个我躺在成为这里的成龙会残党已经封了
The bad people
和几节这个也离我们而去了，甚至这个大家还会有这种忧虑性甚至有一点小失落的这种心情当时我就在想，这个第二季就是到这里就结束了吗？那后面要讲什么呢？称颂会也没有了这个叶诗渊和莎拉在后面的这个
Yeah, see? What are the plans and schemes behind Sarah? Nobody fucking knows. And I'm very grateful that they're recognizing themselves like, oh, we didn't really do a good job of really displaying her motivations and displaying her story trajectory. Because that's just as important as our character story. It's just as important. So we can see where the stories clash, and then, you know, the subtitles. The subtitles aren't very direct, which is fine. Like, as long as I can understand what they're saying. Night market, garden, and salad is killing me.
这个到底是
It is
策划
what
的
it
谋
is.
划的什么事情？
值得说的是，在以
In
后的
later
版本的话
versions,
随着莎
Sarah
拉
escapes and
她
head
逃离
towards
后
the
奔赴失主
progenitor or
我
the
们后续
creator.
的目标也会更加的清
The
晰。
goals will become clear.
然后大家可以看到，对吧？就是解
As
决了
resolving the story
一百海利的
of
逆想者的故事事件之
Isolde,
后，叶诗媛和莎拉登场，然后便是
they
昭示
appear,
着我们
signaling
第
the
二季的高
climax
潮
of
马
season
上就要
2.
到了。
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. A lot of people don't realize this is the actual main storyline that we've actually been building up to.
围绕着那个
Some mystery
之前
surrounding the
新安利
previous
的一些谜团也
power
即将
will gradually be
逐步展
unfolded.
开。
不能再是那个什么，这个
I assume the
蜻蜓
power
点
of
水
the,
就点到为止
the,
了吧？
这
the
个
overseer.
按照
So 2.4 and 2.5 will be like a part 1, part 2. Which, that is what I expected. Which is really, really good. I'm glad that they're not just shoving it all into 2.5. And they're making 2.4 like its own thing. Because God forbid we want another, you know, sidestep to the storyline. Arguable that 2.3 is a sidestep. I don't want to hear it, chat. Like, let's be fucking honest. Like, who cares about the dream shit, whatever, blah, 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 blah. You could have very well told the story, you know, much more, you know, condensed and based towards the main storyline versus like introducing all the Yidhari stuff, blah, 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 blah. If they put it all in one patch, it would also feel very rushed. In a sense, but like they could always extend the time. Like instead of making the quest like 4 hours, they could make it like 6 to 8 hours. Like HSR. Of course, nobody wants to play an 8-hour fucking quest, so I get it. Here's the thing. If they give us a 4-hour quest in 2.4 and they give us a 6 to 8 hour quest in 2.5, I'll be fucking ecstatic. But if 8 hours is the entire thing, fuck that. You know? You know what I'm saying, chat? And as long as the content warrants the time, I don't think we're angry about it. Them experimenting with like very, very preliminary types of like, you know, game mechanics like QTE and like the chase scene or whatever, that shit's cool. That shit's really fucking cool. And as long as you make an attempt for it and don't make it buggy out the fucking wazoo, then we're happy with it. I think going through the pipes in 2.1, right? QTE in 2.2, 2.3 had the chase scene when we were being chased by the hunter. Like all that adds to unique experiences that help us remember the quest and make it memorable, right? Wait, is ZZZ saved? I heard chatter on the grapevine. Yo, what's up, Hayes? The Clips. Welcome in. ZZZ, I think, is headed towards a very, very good direction. Is it saved? We won't know for sure until a lot of the promises. And here's the thing, chat. A lot of the chatter on the grapevine, that's leaked beta content. Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about here. And just in general, I've always told you guys that there are ebbs and flows to a lot of games. But what you gotta take a look at and why, you know, I have such a, you know, successful strategy in terms of like gauging gacha games is because I look at the micro and I also look at the macro, right? Like we already knew that Wuwa and its trajectory was going to be successful past, I would say like, you know, halfway through its first season as it projected a lot of changes for its new 2.0 season. And very so too through the betas that I found out that Zenless zzzero, the direction, the dedication, you know, all that was going to result in Zenless getting better or trying to always get better, because that's the most important thing. I really felt like young developers blessing at this point, although other games aren't particularly old, but they just feel deaf most of the time. Right. Zenless zzzero has been one of the most proactive developer teams I have ever seen the past like 3 years. Right outside with Wuwa. I think Wuwa arguably has a very, very proactive team, I would say. Yeah. To give credit where credit is due, I think that Kuro and their team, right, they really want their golden goose to do well. They really want Wuwa to do well. And it's had some pretty solid success so far. Right? Being, you know, a relative top 5 earner in the gacha sphere every month. Wuwa being arguably touted to be like a top 5 gacha game for the past like 2 to 3 years. Or sorry, 2 years that's been out, right? If you were to make like a top 5 list of gacha games right now, it would probably be what? Genshin, HSR, Wuwa, Zenless zzzero, and Uma Musume. Oh, Uma Musume. Yeah, I could say Uma Musume. Yeah, we could say Uma Musume. Yeah. Yeah, I think Uma Musume would be categorized as like a, you know, yeah, for sure. Naruto Mobile is crazy. Maybe Fate Grand Order. Fate Grand Order has always kind of been in that conversation, I would say. You could argue. And then Uma Musume. Yeah. Goddess of Victory Nikke for this month is going to go crazy. It's 3rd anniversary. It just turned 3rd anniversary this month. So this revenue is probably going to jump to like 20, 30, 35 mil, I think, from this month alone. So very excited about Goddess of Victory Nikke. Yeah. FGO is only there for veterans discounts. Oh, never mind then. Fuck them. Yeah. You know, when it comes to like genuine top 5 produced gacha games out there, like Wuwa and ZZZ are like literally the 2 leading like more progressive games, I would say. Especially when it comes to their dev teams. We can implement it now, but both integration and implementation still need to be further polished in depth. I agree. If you want to start like, you know, implementing these things into the game to create our identity around it, like it's going to take time, for sure.
讨论。没错，这个事情我觉得也是需要一定的时间。
And there needs to be purpose, right? There needs to be purpose, intentionality. And as long as you can communicate that intentionality to the audience, they're going to understand it. If you don't, there's not going to be an understanding, and then we're going to just be like, what the fuck are you doing here? Right? Which confusion leads to negative feedback. Yeah. Yeah, she wields a fuck ton of swords, chat. All right, so let's go through it frame by frame analysis. Frame by frame analysis. So she wields this like fucking big ass carcass of swords, which is kind of crazy. So it's kind of like it reminds me of yeah, Sushang, yeah, Sushang, which is funny because she's Shun Guang. But what's really cool is that she low-key reminds me, her kind of like thing, whole shtick reminds me of Cloud from Advent Children. You know, where he has the fucking motorcycle and then he has the blades in his motorcycle and you can fucking attach like all these attachments to his fucking sword. So she can like, she has a bunch of fucking swords and then she fuses them together and she puts all these attachments into one big ass fucking sword. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about? Hold on. Okay, here. Let's just watch this. All right. Boom. Oh, he fucking ejects the sword and it pops out all the rest of his swords. And he does the Omni Slash. Boom. Boom. Fight Slash is badass, bro. Holy shit. Holy shit. If she does that and she has all of her swords in this like case and then she fucking ejects her swords and then she fucking attaches it, holy shit. And then when she does her ultimate, it all comes out and then all the swords go shoo 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 and then she go bah, 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 like on slash. I get so fucking hyped. I get so fucking hyped. Oh my god. When I saw this, I was like, bro, she's fucking Cloud. She's just Cloud, bro. It's crazy, dude. Yeah. The fusion sword is what it's called. Yeah. People who've played Final Fantasy, you guys have watched Advent Children, you know the exact feeling. You know the exact feeling what I felt when I watched this for the first time and I see him like attaching and detaching his fucking swords. Holy shit, man. Holy shit. Yeah, so like I don't know if you guys can see here, but like, you know, he has two swords right now, right? But then he like reattaches his sword into it. Yeah, anyways. It's really, really fucking cool concept. I like it. A character in HI3 does the same, yeah. So yeah, I really want her to have the Omni Slash ultimate. That'd be sick. Anyways, yeah. As you can see here, there's all of her swords. Her swords are crashing down onto the enemy. Yeah, you can't really see this part, but like she sends out a blade slash, and then sending out this blade slash also sends out the fragments of her sword. Yeah. And then you see the whirl of blades. Fuck, you guys can't see that because my fat head's in the way. God damn it. There it is. So you see the blades right there, chat? You see the blades right there? Yeah, pretty fucking sick. Yeah. Yeah.
它末尾就2.3版本的末期就已经出现了啊，它2.4版本就一定会与神将一起行动，然后各位神将也可以在这过程中去这个与这位小师姐熟悉，然后了解到她一些不为人知的一些秘密啊，还有伤痛啊这些点。
所以就是像这个
I'm really interested in 夜神光。
夜神光这个大家也是很早就知道了，然后但是呢，就是只是知道它的存在，但是围绕它的故事。
I might be breaking my F2P for her. Chat, let me tell you, she is probably one of the cutest mecha kawaii characters, and she's hopefully going to be super strong.
大家也很期待，就是不会是单是其中的一个版本来讲，而是在可能会这个像以前6颗的事情。
Here's the thing, I told you guys like literally 2 weeks ago. Remember, they need to do a lot of legwork to start getting her really popular. They need to start now. And guess what? With this special program, them talking about the developments of Yeshin Guan and how they're going to really make her into the forefront of the story for the next 12 weeks. Remember, it's 6 weeks right in 2.4 and then 6 weeks in 2.5. These next 12 weeks, these next 2 months are pivotal for the marketing of this character. Literally the most important 12-week stretch of Zenless Zone 0 up until we come up around the next update for 3.0. These are literally the most important 12 weeks. That's why people like me and other Zenless creators, we are fucking dying right now to make sure that we stay on top of the coverage. We're fucking dying. Let's move ahead. This feels like 1.4. No, it is 1.4. 2.5 is 1.4. They have been preparing a lot of the stuff for this next 12-week stretch. Yes.
然后它能够支撑玩家进行探索，支撑玩家进行比如说支线任务包括还能够支撑去做一些叙事。对，所以说这套关卡模式的话，其实它能够做出一个更有意思的一个循环体验出来。对，
因为其实我自己在玩的时候
，Wait, who's the Miyabi of 2.x? Was it not the mech dude? No. Hazed, it's this girl. It's literally the girl that I just showed. This chick. Yeah. She is I don't want to spoil the story too much, but essentially she is teased to be upcoming one of the strongest characters in the game. Nefer showed Rere's trauma, so he showed hers. Her story led to how she got the chest set, which we used to set to see Rerer, but we didn't need to know all about that. We didn't need to have a whole fucking hour of it. Technically, for me, when I counted from top to bottom, that whole segment where we were trapped in the quest, and if you redid the quest and then you had to start all the way over, it took me 2 hours. Possibly the next Void Hunter, we'll see. If you rewatch 2.0 trailer, she's the girl at the very end. We barely saw her back at the time. Yes. All the way back in 1.7, we already knew that she was going to be coming at some point. Right? She's basically the protagonist of 2.0 or 2.x. Sure, we are, you know, in ourselves of our own story, the proxies, we are ourselves our own protagonists, but she is the protagonist of the story. Returning to the Lost Void, there should be concentrated erosion pressure. There will be a process of exploration combat with limited. Ooh. Okay, they're looking to expand the Lost Void, which is good. I really like this. Not new elements, due to the elements of, like, you know, how they set up the Lost Void. It seems a lot less, like, impactful and a lot less, like, you know, at this point, Lost Void is something that you just jump into and you don't even care about. Like, it provides you 0 resistance almost. Like, when's the last time you guys actually felt some resistance in Lost Void? At the very beginning when, you know, we only had, like, you know, Yi Shen to compete against the priest. Now we have, like, so many units that can compete against the priest. And when we were also not level 60, I agree. Right? Ether level 10? Yeah, but you don't even have to do Ether level 10. You could do Ether level, like, 4 or 5 and get all the rewards. I do Ether level 7 because, like, Ether level 8 and above, like, you get the 2 times HP, and that's bullshit. So, like, legit, for the most part, like, the base Lost Void is very, very just, like, it's accessible, which is great, but the next thing is, like, you want to present some challenges that can scale, right? And not just have fucking HP inflation, which basically is the buff going from, like, 8, 9, and 10. Like, you literally just double their HP and double it again and double it again. You know what I mean? I think you need level 8 minimum for the character rewards, something like that. Whatever. Yeah. Ember. But, like, you only need to do it once, right? Like, they want to make Lost Void feel like something every week when you join into it. I think that's probably the goal of what they want. There's another issue, the actual gameplay. I've been playing since the first test server. There's one gameplay that left a deep impression on me. I still remember it. In the third test server, there's a combo-based gameplay. And there it is, chat. Confirmed by the devs. We are finally in the big 2.5, or technically in 2026. We are getting actual forms of combat co-op. In CBT3, which I did not get a lot of footage of, so I didn't get a lot of footage of co-op play. I would be able to show you guys if there was, right? Player interaction. It is not player versus player. It's player and player versus environment, which already still is really, really good. Streamer and chat co-op in the future. Streamer and chat co-op. Streamer and streamer collab co-op. And I'm thinking of bringing in some voice actors and some other fun friends to co-op as well. So the ideas are running in my head. Chat. But go to my YouTube video and you guys will be able to see exactly what they're talking about. Let's go over here. Let's go to this video. If or when it actually were to show up. All right, I'll go right here. The fork is at I with the fork. Players. This ultimately allows the game to be repeatable, yet not have the same exact experience, because you're doing it with different people every time. This would allow for, say, Zenless to flex their amazing combat system to be paired with an experience that is new. I don't know if you guys can see that, but here, let me go to the very beginning here. Here's where you can actually see it. Okay, aim at the arcade. I'm talking real co-op that has players jumping into stages, and so as you can see, you're the Ellen Joe here, and your other teammate is the Nekomata, fighting bosses or raids together. Now, to the degree at which this could be viable, I think Koyo has generally taken these big swings slow. So we most likely will either be getting a co-op event of sorts to test out what it could look like in version 2.4, then we'll see the more fuller concept in version 2.5. And one of my biggest hopes with games such as ZZZ or even Wuwa, or even the latest Duet Night Abyss, is that these games start to implement co-op or limited PvP aspect. Yeah. I think Duet Night Abyss, especially with its game format, definitely could use co-op. Wuthering Waves already has technically co-op, but I would really want them to integrate that into a much more higher, higher stakes form of gameplay. Ideally. Because for the past few years, as we've grown past the open world craze that was Genshin Impact, the thing that these games have been missing the most is direct and intentional player-to-player interaction. Yes, we can hit enemies all day and get high score on minigames and limited events every 3 weeks, but there is something special when you introduce the interaction with other players, a human element, a factor that is seemingly unpredictable and ultimately leads to replayability. Take a look at the more modern. Yep, that is one of the most important things that we've been missing in the modern day of gacha. Player-to-player interaction. A lot of the more modern day games have not had a lot of player-to-player interaction. Wuwa, sure, you can jump into the world, but it's very much an aside. Zenless Zone0, you can't even do it. HSR, maybe you could borrow some units, but that's it. You can't really interact with other players, right? CZN, DNA, Bangbu Fall Guys, barely. That's not combat. That's not to the core gameplay of Zenless, right? That's not to the core gameplay of any of those gacha games. But why was Bangbu Fall Guys so successful? Because it brought together a very easy to pick up game mode, which is the Fall Guys, and it made it co-op, and it made it so that you could play with the little cute Bangbus, right? Very easy layup, right? That's an easy layup right there, right? It's not a fucking 3-pointer at the buzzer shooting over when bananas. Not gonna lie, I'm not interested in co-op elements, but it is what it is. I think when you start playing at night, you might be. I think if they were to implement it proper, they might have like a small event in 2.4 where you can try out co-op to see, to test out the bugs of it. And then in 2.5, we'll get a much larger game mode. I think that's what's going to happen. Because they do it all the time where they introduce a small event or they introduce a small gameplay aspect that is, that precedes the larger game mode. They always do this. Always. So Zenless Zone0, I highly suspect that in 2.4, we're already going to be getting pseudo co-op, if that's the timeline. Or it could be that the pseudo co-op shows up in 2.5 and then 2.6 we get it realized. Who knows? But co-op is coming, which is really damn cool. Because one of the things that I've been wanting to doing is a Soul did this before with Shield Defense or Deadly Assault, the combo tournament or like the combo contest. I wanted to do a combo contest with co-op. And how cool would that be when you have two people flying across the screen doing sick ass combos? Dude, What kind of gameplay would you expect to land with other players that isn't inherently PvP? Genshin, at the very least, has open world that you would exist in other worlds, especially with the Millie Astro Wonderland. So would it be relic and boss farming? I think it would be somewhat relevant to Hollow Zero and Lost Void. Potential raids. I think initially they might make it a boss farming thing. Very, very preliminarily, like an event that just like has you farming like 1, 2, or 3 bosses. And then they just test out the very, very basic aspects of the co-op. And then they'll introduce the actual game mode where you actually get to play with all the buffs, with all the changed mechanics and all that stuff. As so far as like what I can perceive in terms of like development path. But I would love to see like a multi-stage thing. Maybe a boss rush. I would love to see a boss rush. Like 3 bosses connected to each other. And you have to defeat 3 bosses in a row. I would love to see that. Wouldn't that be sick, chat? Boss rush. We haven't had a boss rush before. God, I want combo ults even more now that they confirmed co-op. I agree. That would be awesome, yeah. Like waves of bosses, kind of like in Shiyu. Yeah, exactly. Boss rush. Yeah. Just. It's all the same, just different names. And while they add the camera, I don't know if they'd be able to add the camera in co-op because the camera stops the combat, but who knows? Again, a lot of different things that I'm sure that those questions have already ran through their minds. Like they introduced co-op in beta 3, in CBT 3. This is a project and this is something that they've been wanting to implement, but haven't had the time to in the past year plus. And especially with all the development changes that they had to make for the base game, there's just no time to implement co-op earlier. I get it. So I assume that with new co-op, there's going to be somewhat of a new story element tied to it as well, which will be interesting. They had said that combo ults coming back in an interview a while back. Hopefully that's soon, maybe part of 3.0. Nitro, I think it's going to be introduced with the Angels of Delusion. I think if you have a whole team of Angels of Delusion, they'll do like a tag team combo attack, just like how the Hershers do in HI3. Oh, there it is. Oh, look at that. Look at it come home. Woo! Holy shit. Yes, sir. That's what the Angels of Delusion are gonna do, but just less, summoning black holes and more cute things, I guess. God damn. Here's a dundo. AGs and having their own decibel count now makes combo ults fit better and needing both agents their decibels maxed. I agree. Yeah, with the new decibel system, it makes more sense in the context of co-op, for sure. I don't know how many attacks you could block with a box full of swords. Good question. Is Izzy doing team attacks? That's what I'm hoping with the Angels of Delusion. Because if you're gonna introduce team attacks, the best way to do it is with the idols. My idea is that the idols are going to introduce this new wave of faction combo attacks, just like how HI3 did it with the Hershers. You mean like Kaleda and Ben? Kaleda and Ben is very preliminary. Doesn't Ben and Kaleda do that already? It's very, very surface level. Very, very surface level. Right? Like, we need to see that developed a lot more. and like up to the point where like, oh, you do a certain combo line, you get all their ults up together and they can all pop their ults together. Just like this. Right? Like that would be like the most ideal. And some people might be wondering like, oh, Josh, this seems pretty complex. Well, yeah. But the payoff is what it is. It's a big ass payoff for you setting up and grabbing these units. And granted, I would assume that potentially if one of the Stars of not Stars of Lyra, one of the Angels of Delusion were to be an A rank, they might be free. So, you know, it could be that you only need 2 out of the 3 to do a combo attack. Each individual pairing has its own little combo associated with each other. So like, let's say, you know, Angel A and B have a certain combo attack, and Angel B and C have their own combo attack. Agent A and C have their own combo attack. If you put them all together, they have a mega combo attack. It reminds me of Persona. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that way, that's the next evolution I can very, very easily see with a game like Zenless. Very, very easily. It's so easy to grasp that idea and that concept because other games have done it very successfully. And when it comes to a faction like this, like the Angels of Delusion, it would just make sense that they have combo attacks as a faction of idols, an idol VTuber group. Like, come on now. Like, if any group were to do it, it would be the Angels of Delusion. If not Angels of Delusion, I get it. You know, maybe they do it in the future, but like for me, the earliest I feel like we could see it is very easily with the Angels. Our hope with co-op is that the player and player versus environment experience is proactive. Sure, it might feel a little bit clunky. That happens, right? Because of connectivity issues and yada yada yada. But it's proactive and that there's a little bit of depth to it and replayability. A little bit of, a reason to replay it and not just exist for like 10 seconds. You do it once and then you never do it again. That's something that they're going to have to really, really, really weigh. Because co-op can be such it has so much untapped potential. But you got to realize it. And you got to put in so much work to make it, consistently feel like a factor of the game. So many things get lost in the sauce. Tower. At this point, a very, very small minority cares about Tower in Zenless anymore. Whereas Tower arguably should be considered an endgame mode. But it's just tossed to the wayside. They really need to make an effort to make co-op relevant, impactful, and integrated into the overall experience of Zenless. When you think of Zenless, you think of, I think of combat, putting your units into Deadly Assault, putting your units into Shield Defense to speedrun. And then hopefully now, where I can team up with my friend in co-op and we do sick combo attacks. That's what Zenless needs to do. It needs to put in the work so that it can rewrite that narrative. Of course, the narrative must be preceded with the content. So coming out with a good product and coming out with something that, again, is quality and replayable is something, those are the two big keywords, right? Once I got all the polys, I stopped playing Tower. Exactly, Jay. Exactly. There's zero replayability or zero push for replayability. So it needs to be something that is relevant, replayable, and fun. You do not want to let co-op slip and be something of a tertiary factor of the game. Co-op has so much potential to put Zenless's mark on the modern day gacha. A lot more than hopefully I think they might even realize. Because no other modern day gacha can do co-op like Zenless potentially can. Maybe Wuwa to some extent, but no other game. So, there's a lot of weight on co-op. A lot of fucking weight on co-op. Because if they can do co-op right and co-op can be successful for 6 months, 12 months, and be integrated into the mainstay of Zenless's combat and content rotation, this game is going to balloon. It's going to balloon. Player interaction is, and I mentioned it in my YouTube video, right? And I mentioned in my YouTube video, is such an important aspect of video games that we have missed entirely. We've missed entirely strictly because, you know, other games have been focusing on more singular player content. Zenless has the opportunity right now in these next 2 to 3 months to jump out as one of the leading action RPGs that does co-op well. Has the opportunity. That is so goddamn important.